I want you to picture a scenario. It's, say, Saturday night. You're relaxed on your couch, watching a movie in English. Maybe it's that new thriller everyone's talking about. And the amazing thing is, you're following it. You're getting the jokes, you understand the plot twists, you're not even looking at the subtitles.
Right.
You feel this, this wave of confidence. You think, okay, I've actually got this. My English is solid.
That is the danger zone of confidence. It's that feeling of passive mastery.
Right. But then, fast forward to Monday morning, we step out into the real world, a tourist stops you for directions, or you're in a Zoom meeting and your boss asks for your opinion.
A simple question.
A simple question. You know the answer, but suddenly just silence.
The screen goes black.
Complete system failure. Your palms get sweaty, your heart is pounding, and your mind is just a blank whiteboard. You end up stammering something that sounds completely incoherent. Why does that happen?
It's the universal freeze.
It's the most frustrating part of learning a language, I think.
It is. And it's also the reason so many people quit. What you're describing is this massive canyon between passive competence and active blockage.
Okay.
So today, we were doing a deep dive into the English upgrade methodology to figure out why your brain betrays you in that moment and, more importantly, how to fix it.
And we aren't just looking for, be more confident tips here. We have a stack of sources that go into the neurology of this. Because for me, the biggest takeaway from reading this was just the validation.
The validation.
Yeah, I think most people assume I froze, so I must be stupid, or I just don't have the language gene.
Which is a complete myth. The sources make this crystal clear. The inability to speak has almost zero correlation with intelligence.
Really? Zero?
Almost zero. You can be a brilliant engineer or a poetic writer in your native language and still sound like a broken robot in English. The issue isn't your IQ, it's your biology.
So let's get into the wiring then. If I know the words, I can understand them when I hear them, why can't I get them out of my mouth?
It comes down to how the brain is zoned. When you were watching that movie on the couch, you were primarily using Wernicke's area.
Wernicke's area. Okay.
That's the part of the brain responsible for comprehension. It's all about pattern recognition. You hear a sound, you match it to a meaning. It's a very efficient, low-energy process.
Okay, so that's the input zone.
Exactly. That's speaking. Speaking happens in Broca's area, that is the production center, and Broca's area has a much, much harder job.
How so?
It has to retrieve the word, organize the grammar, coordinate all the muscle movements of the tongue and lips, and monitor social feedback, all of it, in real time.
Wow. So when I freeze, it's basically a connection error between those two areas.
I'll give it like a bridge. You have a warehouse full of furniture on one side of a river. That's all your passive vocabulary in Wernicke's area. But you live on the other side. If the bridge, that neural pathway to Broca's area, is weak or narrow, doesn't matter how much furniture you have, you can't get it across.
So the freeze is a traffic jam on that bridge.
It's a complete gridlock.
That makes sense. But it's also terrifying because it implies that just learning more words, filling up the warehouse, doesn't actually help me speak.
It doesn't. And that is the input fallacy that the source material warns about again and again.
The input fallacy.
Yeah, we have this belief that if we just consume enough content, listen to enough podcasts, watch enough Netflix, eventually it'll just overflow into speech.
I am definitely guilty of that. It feels like studying, but it's actually just entertainment.
It's passive. The analogy in the source is great.
Yeah.
You cannot learn to play the piano by listening to Mozart. You can learn to appreciate music, but your fingers won't know what to do.
Right.
The neural pathways for recognition are totally separate from the pathways for production.
Okay, so we have a weak bridge, but the sources also list these specific psychological blockers that basically dynamite the bridge just when we need it most. And the big one, of course, is fear.
Fear is the paralytic, but specifically, it's the fear of mistakes. The source material describes this as an overactive internal editor.
An internal editor.
Yeah, when you speak your native language, you aren't really thinking about grammar, you just talk. But in English, many learners are auditing every single sentence before they let it out.
You're pre-grading yourself.
Right. And while you're busy grading your internal draft for errors, the conversation has moved on. The source has a brutal truth here. Fluency must come before perfection.
That's easy to say. It sounds great on a motivational poster. But in practice, it's humiliating. We're adults, we're competent professionals. To open your mouth and sound imperfect is a huge ego hit.
It is painful. But the alternative is the second trap mentioned in the text, the translation trap.
Oh, I do this all the time. I think of the sentence in my native language, translate it word for word, and then try to say it.
And that is why you freeze. You're asking your brain to run a marathon in a sprint.
Yeah.
You hear English, translate to native, formulate an answer in native, translate back to English, check for grammar. It creates this massive latency.
A lag.
The lag is just too high for a natural conversation.
So the goal of this English upgrade thing is to basically cut the wire to the native language, to go directly from thought to English.
Yes. You have to bypass that whole translation circuit. But there's another blocker we have to talk about, and it's one that I think causes the most anxiety. The unfair comparison.
Oh, you mean looking at native speakers?
Exactly. The source calls this a rigged game.
Yeah.
You are comparing your chapter 2 to a native speaker's chapter 50.
Right.
A native speaker has been practicing that language every single day for, 30 or 40 years? They have millions of reps.
It's like picking up a basketball for the first time and getting mad you can't play like LeBron James.
Precisely. And this leads to the tip of the tongue problem, or vocabulary hesitation. You know the word. If I wrote it down, you'd say, of course I know that.
But you can't find it.
You can't retrieve it fast enough. That isn't a memory problem. It's a retrieval speed problem. Your active tank is small, even if your passive one is huge.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the patient. We have a disconnect between the brain's input and output. We're paralyzed by an internal editor. We're lagging because of translation. And our retrieval speed is slow. It sounds like a mess.
It does.
How do we actually fix this? Because the usual advice is just speak more, which is easier said than done if you don't have anyone to speak to.
Well, that's where this source material really shines. It shifts the paradigm. It stops treating language like a subject you study like history or math and starts treating it like a physical skill.
Like a sport.
Exactly. The muscle analogy.
Really like this part.
It's the core of the solution. If fluency is a muscle, you don't build it by reading about weights, you build it by lifting. And the English upgrade proposes a training regimen that focuses on reps, not theory.
But here's the problem with the go to the gym advice. If I go to a real gym, there's equipment. If I want to practice English and I'm alone in my apartment, what am I supposed to do? Talk to the wall.
Actually,
Yes.
yes. That is technique number 1. Start small and narrate.
Narrate your life.
Literally narrate your movements. I am walking into the kitchen. I am looking for a spoon. I am pouring the coffee.
Okay, I have to push back here. If my neighbors hear me walking around saying I am holding a spoon, they're going to call for help. It feels incredibly weird.
It feels ridiculous. Let's just own that. It is awkward. But here is why it works. You are building the physical connection between your brain and your mouth without the social pressure.
Ah, okay.
There's no one to judge you, no one to hear if you use the wrong tense. You are just greasing the gears of Broca's area so that when you do have to speak to a human, the pathway is already open.
So it's like warming up before the game. You're just getting the mouth moving.
Exactly. And it forces you to stop translating. You don't have time to translate. I am opening the door if you're saying it while you're doing it. It forces a direct association.
Okay, I can see the value in that, even if I have to whisper it so my family doesn't think I've lost my mind. So, technique number 2. This one's a bit more technical. Shadowing. Now, I've heard of this, but I think most people do it wrong.
Most people do listen and repeat. They listen to a sentence, pause the audio, and then say it. That's fine for memory, but it's not really shadowing.
So what's real shadowing?
True shadowing is simultaneous. You listen to the speaker and you try to speak along with them like you're singing a duet. You want to be just a fraction of a second behind them.
So you're talking over them. That sounds chaotic.
You're stepping on their heels, basically. The goal here isn't just the words, it's the music, the rhythm, the intonation, the emotion.
But why does the music matter so much? Isn't the vocabulary enough?
No, because English is a stress-timed language. The meaning changes based on how you say it. Shadowing bypasses the analytical brain. You aren't thinking about why the pitch went up, you're just mimicking it.
You're training your brain to feel the correct English.
Before you even understand the grammar of it, yes. You're training the ear and the mouth to synchronize.
I get that. Now, technique number 3. This is the one that I think is the hardest sell. I hate this one. The recording method.
Nobody likes this one. The advice is to record yourself speaking, maybe answering a prompt or just narrating, and then listen back to it.
Ugh. I would rather listen to nails on a chalkboard than my own voice. It makes me physically cringe.
It is universally uncomfortable. We all sound different in our heads. But the source material is adamant. This is the game tape.
Game tape?
Athletes watch game tapes to see their form. You cannot fix mistakes you don't know you're making. When you're speaking, your brain is just too busy processing what to say to monitor how you sound.
So the recording is the only objective teacher you have.
It is. You might listen back and realize, oh, I keep dropping the E's at the end of words, or wow, I sound really aggressive when I ask questions. You can't fix that in the moment, only in the review.
Okay, it's the bitter pill of the regimen. It hurts, but it works.
And finally, there's technique number 4, purposeful practice. This addresses that passive versus active tank issue. The guide says, stop collecting words you never use.
Like buying a bunch of tools and leaving them in the box.
Right. If you learn a new word, like resilient, don't just write it in a notebook. Immediately within minutes, force it into a sentence. Say it aloud. My team is resilient. I need to be more resilient.
You're proving to your brain that this file needs to be on the desktop, not in the archives.
Exactly. You are manually moving it from Wernicke's warehouse over to Broca's production line.
Now, all of this sounds great in theory, narrate, shadow, record, but I want to make this tangible. The source material has these interactive micro gym exercises. I want to try one just to show how simple it can be.
Let's do it. The idea is to take a simple sentence stem and make it personal right away.
Okay, lay it on me.
The stem is, I am starting to.
I am starting to. Okay, I am starting to feel hungry.
Good. Now do another one. Faster.
I am starting to understand this concept.
One more. Connect it to your work.
I am starting to see better results with my project.
Okay, see what happened there. The first one was easy. The second one, you had to search a little. The third one, you actually had to visualize your work.
Yeah, I felt a little hesitation on that third one.
That hesitation is the muscle getting worked. You were forcing your brain to connect a grammatical structure to your actual reality. And the source says you should do this in dead time. While driving, while washing dishes. Just loop his structure and fill in the blanks. I am starting to. I used to be. I am looking forward to.
Just riffing on it like a jazz musician.
Yes. And this brings us to maybe the most encouraging metric in the entire document. The consistency over intensity rule.
This was a relief to read, because I think we all have this idea that if I can't study for an hour, it's not worth doing.
And that is why we fail. The source says 2 minutes of speaking a day is infinitely better than 0. But here is the kicker. 1 sentence spoken aloud is worth more than 100 sentences thought silently.
That is a bold claim. 1 aloud beats 100 silent.
Because the silent ones are just reinforcing the passive skill you already have. You aren't changing anything. The spoken sentence is the only one breaking new ground.
It's the difference between thinking about doing a push-up 100 times and actually doing 1 push-up.
Only one builds strength.
That really puts it in perspective. You don't need a tutor. You don't need a classroom. You just need 2 minutes of feeling a bit silly talking to your toaster.
But there's one final piece. We can do all the exercises, but if the mindset is wrong, we'll still freeze. We have to change the goal.
This goes back to the fear of mistakes, right?
Exactly. Most learners have a defensive goal. Don't look stupid. Don't make a mistake. The source says you have to aggressively shift that goal to communication.
Just be understood.
Right. If you say, I go store yesterday, that is, terrible grammar. But did you communicate?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Did I understand you? Yes.
Yes.
That is a win.
It's choosing effectiveness over elegance.
And the irony is, once you stop trying to be elegant, you relax. And when you relax, your cortisol levels drop, your brain functions better, and your grammar actually improves.
It's a virtuous cycle.
But you have to be willing to sound bad to eventually sound good.
So to recap this whole journey, the freeze isn't a sign of stupidity. It's a biological gap between your input and output centers.
Right.
And the way to bridge that gap isn't more studying, it's physical training. We need to narrate to break the silence, shadow to find the rhythm, and record to check our form.
And we need to do it consistently, even if it's just for 2 minutes while the coffee brews.
I love the motto the methodology uses: speak with power, be understood everywhere. It's such a good reminder that language is a tool, not a test.
It's about connection at the end of the day.
Now, before we sign off, we usually like to leave the listener with a provocative thought, something to chew on that goes a step beyond the source material. What's been on your mind with this?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about this muscle analogy. We treat speaking like a physical muscle we have to train.
Okay.
But it makes me wonder, is our personality in a second language also a muscle?
That's interesting. Like, do I have a distinct English personality?
Yeah. A lot of people say they do. Maybe they're more direct in English or funnier or more polite. If we follow the logic of the source material, maybe we don't just find our voice in English.
We build it.
Maybe we have to consciously construct it.
So I'm not just learning vocabulary, I'm building a whole new version of myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are constructing a persona that is confident, that is articulate. And just like the speaking muscle, that personality muscle only gets stronger if you exercise it. You almost have to act the part of the confident speaker before you actually feel like one.
Fake it till you make it, but backed by neuroscience.
Precisely. You're building the avatar you want to be.
That is a fantastic thought to end on. So, to everyone listening, go find your 2 minutes today, narrate your walk to the car, shadow a commercial, start building that new version of yourself. Thanks for deep diving with us.
It's been a pleasure. Keep speaking.
See you in the next one.